The Taiwan Strait, 1,347 hours local time. The waterway that separates the island of Taiwan from the Chinese mainland is 90 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point and has been the most politically consequential body of water on the planet for the better part of 75 years. Through its center runs an invisible line, the median line of the strait, the boundary that the People's Republic of China declared null and void in 2023, and that the United States Navy has treated as irrelevant to its own operational planning since the day it was drawn. American warships transit the Taiwan Strait on the same legal basis they transit any international waterway. The right of innocent passage through international waters that no unilateral Chinese declaration can extinguish, regardless of how many times Beijing asserts otherwise. This transit happens routinely. It happens deliberately. And it happens because the moment the United States Navy stops conducting these transits, it concedes through operational behavior rather than diplomatic language. The Chinese position that the strait is Chinese territorial water, subject to Chinese permission. That concession will not be made. The USS Bunker Hill, CG-52, a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser, 567 feet and 9,800 tons at combat displacement, 122 Mk-41 VLS cells, AN/SPY-1B phased array radar, is 17 nautical miles into her southbound transit of the strait. She has been making 16 knots on a course of 190 degrees for the past 41 minutes. 8 nautical miles astern, the USS Rafael Peralta, DDG-115, the Arleigh Burke Flight 2A destroyer whose capabilities her crew knows intimately from months of Pacific operations, holds the same course at the same speed. Together they constitute a 2-ship freedom of navigation transit that 7th Fleet executes through the Taiwan Strait on a schedule that is deliberately unpredictable in its exact timing and entirely predictable in its frequency. The People's Liberation Army Navy tracks every transit. The People's Liberation Army Air Force tracks every transit. And occasionally, with a frequency that has been increasing since 2021 and accelerating sharply since 2023, the plan decides to make a point about its displeasure through the language it considers most direct, the movement of a warship. The contact appears on the Bunker Hill's AN/SPY-1B at 1347 hours and 14 seconds. It has been tracked since 1,241 hours, 66 minutes, when it was first acquired at a range of 71 nautical miles to the north-northwest, proceeding south at 18 knots, on a heading that placed it on a parallel track to the Bunker Hill's transit route. The contact is the PLA Navy Surface Combatant Designated Track 417 in the Bunker Hill's Aegis fire control system. Its radar cross-section, its acoustic signature from the hull-mounted sonar, and its IFF transponder emissions, processed through the Aegis system's non-cooperative target recognition algorithms, have identified it within the first 12 minutes of tracking as a Type 055 Renhai-class guided missile cruiser. Hull number 105. The Nanchang, China's most capable surface combatant, displacing 13,000 tons, armed with 112 vertical launch cells, equipped with the Type 346B phased array radar, and carrying a crew of approximately 300 officers and enlisted personnel who are, at this moment, doing something that the Bunker Hill's commanding officer has been watching develop for 47 minutes with the particular quality of attention that comes from recognizing a deliberate maneuver unfolding in real time. The Nanchang has been closing the lateral distance between its track and the Bunker Hill's track. Gradually, over 47 minutes, in increments of course, adjustments small enough to appear innocuous in isolation, but unmistakable in aggregate when plotted on a maneuvering board. At 12:41 hours, the Nanchang was 8.4 nautical miles to the west of the Bunker Hill's projected track. At 1300 hours, 6.1 miles. At 1320 hours, 3.7 miles. At 1340 hours, 1.9 miles. And at 1347 hours, Track 417 executes a course change of 22 degrees to starboard, crossing from its westward offset to an eastward heading that places it on a direct intercept course with the Bunker Hill's track at a point approximately 2.3 nautical miles ahead. The officer of the deck on the Bunker Hill's bridge has been watching this develop. The commanding officer has been in the bridge for 19 minutes since the track's lateral offset dropped below 3 nautical miles and the maneuvering picture became unambiguous. They have had the conversation that commanding officers and officers of the deck have when a contact's behavior crosses from the professionally concerning to the operationally deliberate. The commanding officer has made his assessment. This is an intercept, not an exercise, not a navigation error, not a coincidence. The Nanchang is attempting to force the Bunker Hill to maneuver, to alter course away from the strait's median line, to slow, to deviate from the transit track, and thereby generate the appearance for whatever audience the plan considers relevant. The Chinese naval presence has compelled an American warship to yield the strait's center line. It is coercion by geometry, and it is the oldest form of naval pressure short of weapons employment. The commanding officer of the Bunker Hill does not alter course. He does not slow. He maintains 16 knots on course 190 and picks up the bridge-to-bridge radio handset. At 1348 hours, the Bunker Hill transmits on channel 16, the international maritime distress and calling frequency monitored by every vessel in these waters, and on the planned naval frequency that has been established through decades of operational interaction as the standard communications channel between American and Chinese naval vessels in the Western Pacific. The transmission is in English and Mandarin. The People's Liberation Army Navy vessel, bearing 340 degrees at 7.4 nautical miles, is advised that it is maneuvering in a manner inconsistent with the requirements of the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. Under Colreg's Rule 16, the giveway vessel is required to take early and substantial action to keep well clear. The Bunker Hill, as the stand-on vessel, is maintaining her course and speed and requires the approaching vessel to maneuver clear. The transmission is professional, precise, and grounded in the specific regulatory language that governs maritime right-of-way. It is made 3 times. The Nanchang does not respond on channel 16. She does not alter course. She increases speed to 22 knots. At 22 knots on her current intercept heading, Track 4417 will cross the Bunker Hill's bow at a distance of approximately 900 meters, roughly 40 seconds of travel time at combined closing speeds in approximately 6 minutes. 900 meters is not a collision course in the immediate sense. The Nanchang is not going to strike the Bunker Hill. The geometry is calculated to produce a close crossing ahead of the American ship, a maneuver that requires the stand-on vessel to either hold course and accept the discomfort of a 900-meter crossing or maneuver away, the latter of which is what the plan is attempting to compel. 900 meters between 2 warships displacing a combined 23,000 tons, moving at a combined closing speed of 38 knots in a 90 nautical mile wide strait with commercial traffic in both directions, is not a comfortable margin. It is not meant to be. The discomfort is the point. Now let us understand what the Nanchang is and what she represents, because the ship being used for this maneuver is not an arbitrary selection from the plan order of battle. The Type 055 Renhai is China's most powerful and most technically capable surface combatant, a vessel that required 15 years of development, approximately $900 million per hull, and the full commitment of China's shipbuilding industrial base to produce. It is a genuine blue water warship, 180 meters in length, 13,000 tons displacement, 112 vertical launch cells capable of firing the YJ-18 anti-ship missile, the HHQ-9B surface-to-air missile, the YJ-21 hypersonic anti-ship missile, and a range of anti-submarine weapons that gives the Type 055A multi-mission capability broadly analogous to the Ticonderoga class it is now maneuvering against. Its Type 346B phased array radar, operating in both S-band and X-band configurations from 4 fixed faces, provides 360-degree coverage with performance specifications that Western intelligence assessments place in a broadly comparable range to the AN/SPY-1B aboard the Bunker Hill. It is, in short, a serious warship operated by our professional Navy. And it is being used this afternoon not as a warship, but as a physical object. A 13,000-ton instrument of political coercion, attempting to use its mass and its proximity to produce a behavioral change in an American commanding officer. The commanding officer of the Bunker Hill has encountered Type 055s before. He has read every engagement report, every OPREP, every after-action summary produced by American commanding officers who have navigated Chinese intercept maneuvers in the Western Pacific over the past 8 years. He knows the pattern. He knows the pressure point. He knows that the plan's intercept maneuvers are calibrated against an American commanding officer who is weighing his obligation to maintain the transit against his obligation to protect his ship and crew from collision risk, and who, in the plan's assessment, will choose the path of least resistance when the geometry becomes sufficiently uncomfortable. He is going to disappoint them. At 13:49 hours, the Bunker Hill activates her AN/SLQ-32V3 electronic warfare system in active mode, a transmission that the Nanchang's own electronic warfare suite will detect immediately, correctly interpret as a significant escalation indicator, and transmit to Plan Eastern Theater Command's Operations Center in a contact report that will arrive there in approximately 40 seconds. The SLQ-32 activation is not an aggressive act. It is a professional signal. The Bunker Hill is aware of the Nanchang's approach, is tracking her with active electronic warfare sensors, and is prepared for any escalation of the current maneuver beyond close passage. Simultaneously, the Bunker Hill's Aegis combat system transitions the Track 417 contact from surveillance tracking to active fire control tracking, not because engagement is anticipated or authorized, but because professional seamanship in a developing close-range interaction with an adversary warship requires maintaining the highest quality positional data on that contact at all times. The USS Rafael Peralta, 8 nautical miles astern, has been monitoring the developing situation on her own SPY-1D radar and via the Link 16 tactical picture shared from the Bunker Hill. The Peralta's commanding officer transmits a contact report to 7th Fleet at 13:49 hours and issues a maneuvering order to his ship. Increase speed to 22 knots and close to 4 nautical miles behind the Bunker Hill. The geometry of having a second American warship visibly accelerating toward the interaction from astern is not an escalation. It is a demonstration of the simple arithmetic that the plan commander aboard the Nanchang must perform. He is maneuvering to pressure 1 American warship, but that 1 American warship is part of a 2-ship formation, whose second element is now closing the gap at 22 knots, whose commanding officer has activated his own fire control tracking on the Nanchang, and whose Aegis system has a current weapons solution running on Track 417 that has been continuously updated since 1,241 hours. The pressure maneuver that the plan planned against a single cruiser is now a pressure maneuver against a cruiser and a destroyer whose combined weapons capacity includes 218 VLS cells. At 13:51 hours, the E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, operating at 24,000 feet 80 nautical miles east of the strait, Sentry 3 The Carrier Air Wing 5 airborne early warning aircraft assigned to monitor this transit as a standard safety measure transmits a situation report to the USS Ronald Reagan, 340 nautical miles to the southeast. The Reagan's watch officer receives the report, acknowledges and notifies the strike group commander. 2 A-18F Super Hornets from VFA 41, call signs Falcon 1 and Falcon 2, are placed on Alert 5 on the Reagan's flight deck. They are not launched. Their readiness state is noted in the Nanchang's direction by the P-8A Poseidon operating at 18,000 feet 60 nautical miles to the south, whose communications intercept equipment picks up the Alert 5 declaration on the Reagan's tactical frequency. Within 4 minutes of the Alert 5 declaration, Plan Eastern Theater Command's Signals Intelligence Network will have collected and processed the P-8A's intercept. The Nanchang's commanding officer will know that 2 American fighter aircraft are sitting on a carrier's catapults with their engines running. At 13:52 hours and 41 seconds, the Nanchang is 1.1 nautical miles ahead and 0.3 nautical miles to port of the Bunker Hill's track, crossing from port to starboard across the American cruiser's bow on its planned intercept geometry. The closest point of approach, computed by the Bunker Hill's navigation team in real time, is 41 seconds away at current speeds. The predicted CPA distance, 870 meters. The Bunker Hill has not altered course. She has not reduced speed. She is maintaining 16 knots on course 190 with the steady deliberateness of a ship whose commanding officer has made a decision and is executing it. The Nanchang's hull is visible from the Bunker Hill's bridge, 180 meters of gray warship crossing ahead at 22 knots, close enough that the white cap of her bow wave is visible to the naked eye, close enough that her hull number is readable through binoculars from the bridge wing. The Bunker Hill's bridge team is professional. Nobody on that bridge is comfortable. Nobody on that bridge is panicking either. The officer of the deck is calling relative bearings. The commanding officer is at the bridge window with his binoculars. The boatswain's mate of the watch has the collision alarm system ready on manual authorization, and every member of the bridge team is doing their job with the focused efficiency of people who have trained for this specific scenario in simulators and academic exercises, and who understand that their professional obligation in this moment is to hold their position, hold their course, hold their speed, and not give the plan the behavioral confirmation it has maneuvered 13,000 tons of warship into position to extract. At 13:53 hours and 22 seconds, the Nanchang crosses ahead of the Bunker Hill at a closest point of approach of 912 meters, slightly wider than the computed prediction because the Nanchang's commanding officer made a minor course correction of 3 degrees to port in the final 90 seconds of the crossing, opening the CPA marginally from the planned 870 meters. Whether this course correction reflects a decision by the Nanchang's commanding officer, an order from Eastern Theater Command, or simply a navigation adjustment is not immediately determinable from the Bunker Hill's sensor picture. What is determinable is the result. The Nanchang has crossed the Bunker Hill's bow at 912 meters. The closest point of approach is passed, and the 2 ships are now separating. The Nanchang is accelerating on a southwesterly heading, away from the Strait's median line, away from the Bunker Hill's track, at a speed that suggests she is not planning a second pass. The Bunker Hill's commanding officer lowers his binoculars. He does not make a comment. He does not need to. The ship is at 16 knots, on course 190. Nothing has changed. Now, let us examine what the plan attempted this afternoon and why the outcome represents a decisive failure of the tactic on every level it was designed to operate. The close-intercept maneuver as a tool of Chinese naval coercion has a documented operational history extending from at least 2009, when Plan and Chinese maritime law enforcement vessels employed similar tactics against USNS Impeccable in the South China Sea, through the 2023 Taiwan Strait incident involving a Type 05-2D destroyer and USS Chunghoon, through dozens of less publicized interactions in the Philippine Sea, the South China Sea, and the Strait itself. The tactic is grounded in a specific assessment of American decision-making under pressure, that an American commanding officer, confronted with the combination of collision risk, diplomatic complexity, and career consequence that a close-range interaction with a planned warship represents, will choose caution over continuity and alter course or speed in a way that can be characterized in plan reports, in Chinese state media, in the information operations narrative that follows every such interaction, as the American ship yielding to Chinese pressure. This assessment has occasionally been correct. There have been interactions in which American ships altered course, reduced speed, or departed the immediate area in response to planned close approach maneuvers. And those interactions have appeared in Chinese state media as examples of Chinese naval assertiveness, producing American behavioral compliance. The plan is not wrong, that the tactic sometimes works. It has an operational record. What the tactic does not have is a record of working against commanding officers who have been specifically trained, specifically briefed, and specifically authorized to maintain course and speed in the face of planned intercept maneuvers, and whose chain of command, from 7th Fleet through Pacific Fleet through the Chief of Naval Operations, has provided explicit, documented, and consistently reinforced guidance that freedom of navigation transits are to be conducted as planned regardless of planned harassment, because the alternative, adjusting American naval behavior in response to planned coercion, concedes the operational objective that the planned coercion is designed to achieve. The Bunker Hill's commanding officer did not make an improvised decision under pressure this afternoon. He executed a pre-authorized standing order that reflects years of deliberate policy development at every level of the American naval command structure. The 912-meter closest point of approach between the Nanchang and the Bunker Hill will be reported to 7th Fleet, to Pacific Fleet, to the Chief of Naval Operations, and to the Secretary of Defense within hours. It will be documented with the precision that the Bunker Hill's sensor suite, radar, optical, electronic intelligence provides. It will be shared with American allies and partners in the region. It will be part of the diplomatic communication transmitted through the U.S. Embassy in Beijing to the Chinese Ministry of National Defense, and it will be part of the electronic intelligence and operational pattern analysis that informs the planning for the next Taiwan Strait transit, and the one after that, and every one thereafter. The strait is 90 nautical miles wide. The Bunker Hill used 912 meters of it to demonstrate that no planned maneuver, however precisely executed or politically calculated, produces the behavioral change it is designed to extract. The Nanchang used 13,000 tons of China's most capable warship to execute a pressure maneuver that produced nothing. No course alteration, no speed reduction, no deviation from the transit track, no operational concession of any kind, and in the process provided American intelligence analysts with 47 minutes of detailed maneuvering data, radar emission parameters, communication patterns, and command decision timing information about a Type 055 operating in an escalatory posture. That data will inform American training, American tactics, and American response doctrine for the next iteration of exactly this scenario. The Bunker Hill crosses the strait's southern exit point at 15:48 hours, 2 hours and 1 minute after the initial Nanchang contact at 71 nautical miles. The transit is complete. She maintains 16 knots on a course that takes her south toward the Luzon Strait. The Rafael Peralta, 8 nautical miles astern, the P-8A overhead, the E-2D at 24,000 feet, and 2 F/A-18Fs back in their hangar bay on the Reagan with their Alert 5 status stood down at 14:01 hours when the CPA passed and the Nanchang departed the area, 90 nautical miles of Taiwan Strait. Traversed on course, on speed, on schedule. One plan, Type 055 cruiser, attempted to pressure the Bunker Hill into yielding the median line. The Bunker Hill passed 912 meters off her bow without blinking. China sent its most powerful surface warship to make a point about American presence in the strait. The point that was actually made belongs to the ship that held its course. Bye for now.